Warrior Cats, Crookedstars Promise by Erin Hunter, Chapter 22. Keep your tail down, Crooked pressed Willowpaw's tail to the ground and nudged her forepaws forward. Reach as far as you can. Oomph! The breath puffed out of Willowpaw as he adjusted her ribs, flattening them to the ground. Now leap, Crooked ordered. Leap? Willowpaw was splayed like a dead frog. She twisted her head around and stared at him. I can hardly move. Crooked sat up. I'm only trying to help. The sun was rising over the trees on the far side of the river. Willowpaw's assessment was due to start any moment. She struggled to her paws. Thanks, she mewed, shaking out her legs, but I'm not sure if you're cut out to be a mentor. Don't say that. Crookedjaw's pelt rippled with dismay. He really wanted to help her pass the first time. I'm just trying to make you see how important it is to stay low if you're stalking birds. Alfred will make us stalk birds, Willowpaw argued. I'm training to be a RiverClan warrior, not ThunderClan. When the river freezes, birds are all we can catch, Crookedjaw reminded her. But I've never caught a bird. Willowpaw's eyes sparked with sudden panic. You don't think he'll actually test me on that? Alfred only covered basic land hunting techniques. He doesn't like catching leaf-bear prey when the river's full of fish. He said it was a waste. He dropped back into a crouch. Let's try again. She flattened her tail and pressed her muzzle into the grass, then sat up wailing. I can't do it. I'm going to fail. No, you're not. Crooked circled her, trying to remember what Mapleshade had taught him. His pads itched with frustration. Mapleshade had concentrated on battle moves. He thought harder. Had he caught birds with cedar pelt? Oh, yes. I know. He realized in a flash what was wrong with her crouch. Your forepaws should be tucked under your shoulders, not stretched out. That way you'll get a better jump. Willowpaw dropped again, drawing her paws beneath her. That feels better. With a sharp push, she shot forward and stretched up, skimming a clump of marsh grass. Excellent, Crooked purred. Willowpaw, Greypaw's mew sounded from the other side of the reeds. Alpha's ready. Willowpaw's eyes stretched wide. Oh, StarClan. Worry clouded her gaze. I hope I pass. Hurry up, Greypaw urged. Pike-Tooth started my assessment. You'll be great, Crooked promised, but Willowpaw was already dashing away. Good luck, he called after her. As she disappeared into the rattling stalks, he headed for the river, too restless to go back to camp. It was too early to fish, but he could swim. It cooled him down. He slid into the river water and let it carry him downstream. Rolling on his back as he drifted past the camp, through the reeds he could see flashes of pelt and hear squeals as the kids charged across the clearing. He felt a prick of sadness. He remembered playing with Oak Kit and Beetle Kit, Vole Kit and Petal Kit. Things had changed so much since then. He pushed away the thought. He was a warrior now, and one day he'd be the greatest leader RiverClan had ever known. What more could he possibly want? He struck out and swam for the bank. Climbing out near the stepping stones, he could hear bird songs mew drifting down from sunning rocks. Hellstar had decided it was safe for the elders to start visiting them again. It's so good to feel the warmth of the stone on my pelt, she rasped. Single Whisker answered, purring. There's nothing like it for reaching every ache. Crooked padded up the shore and followed a narrow trail into the spindly trees. The sun was shining, but he could taste a change in the wind. It was scented with heather from the moors. Rain was on the way. The grass swished ahead of him. Crooked froze. A pelt was moving between the trees, keeping low. Alfred. Crooked crouched and held his breath as the brown and white warrior passed. He must be assessing Willowpaw. Was she nearby? Darting behind a trunk, he crouched down, out of sight. Pawstep scampered toward him. Crooked heart quickened as he waited for Willowpaw's pelt to come flashing past. But it was up the tree, straining to see over the grass. There! Willowpaw's pale tabby pelt was pushing through a clump of ferns. The feathered green fronds curled over and trailed along her spine. Her eyes were fixed on the ground. She must be stalking something. A blackbird. She padded closer as the bird struggled to pull a worm from the ground. Pounce! Crooked willed her on, but Willowpaw was taking her time. She dropped into a crouch, flattening her tail, tucking her forepaws under her shoulders, and pressing her belly against the ground. Crooked felt a flicker of pride. I taught her that. He tensed as the blackbird plucked the worm free. Now! Willowpaw leaped as the blackbird lifted into the air. With a deft paw she hooked it and brought it plummeting to the ground. She held it fluttering beneath her forepaws and looked around hopefully. Alfred's head appeared from behind a bush. Very good, he meowed. You can let it go. Eyes shining, Willowpaw released the blackbird, and it fled, squawking into the branches above her head. Well done. Crooked heart soared. What in the name of StarClan are you doing? A voice sounded from the bottom of the tree. Guilt flooded his fur. Maple shade. She'd caught him watching Willowpaw again. Crooked whirled around, ready with an excuse, and saw Shellheart staring up at him, puzzled. Why are you hiding in a tree? Shellheart asked. Crooked slithered head first down the trunk. I was just watching, just seeing if the assessment was going good. He stammered to a halt. Shellheart's ears twitched. Really? He didn't sound convinced. Crooked shrugged. I wanted to see how Willowpaw was doing. Shellheart looked at him with amusement. I guess, he purred. And how is Willowpaw doing? Crooked couldn't stifle a purr. Great. Good. Shellheart nosed him away from the tree. Why don't you come back to camp with me? We don't want to distract her when she's doing so well. He steered Crooked on to a trail that led away from the apprentices. In the clearing, Mudfur was pacing outside the nursery. Something's wrong. Otter Splash trotted after the brown warrior, calling, I'm sure she'll be fine. They'll all be fine. Crooked stopped and looked around. Echo Mist crouched beneath the willow, her anxious gaze fixed on the nursery. Rainflower growled softly at her to herself as she padded along the edge of the reeds. Crooked blocked her path. What's wrong? Rainflower closed her eyes. Bright Sky's kidding. Why can't we go to the nursery? Sunkit complained. We just can't, mewed Shimmerpelt, who was helping Lakeshine shoo the kids up the slope toward the Elder's Den. But why not? Come on, dears. Birdsong called from the top. Come and explore our nest. Have you been inside the Elder's Den before, Reedkit? I don't want to go in there, Reedkit stopped at the entrance. It's stinky. Shimmerpelt nudged him forward with her nose. Don't be rude. Loudkit scowled. It's too hot to be inside, he complained. Can't we practice swimming in the reed bed? Lakeshine shook her head. Later, little one. We just need to be quiet for a while. A shriek sounded from the nursery. Sunkit bristled. What was that? Shimmerpelt nudged her inside. Bright Sky's kidding. Crooked stared at Rainflower. When did she start? Just after dawn. Rainflower's gaze was dark. Brambleberry's worried. Bright Sky's still weak from fever. But she's a tough warrior, Crooked pointed out. Sometimes that's not enough. Rainflower warned over her shoulder as she padded away. Crooked joined Ottersplash and Mudfur. Does Brambleberry need anything? Water? Honey? Ottersplash halted. She tried all that, and Raspberry Leaf, too. She lowered her voice as Mudfur carried on walking. Nothing's working. Another long, desperate moan sounded in the nursery. She's exhausted, Ottersplash murmured. Birdsong dashed down the slope. Troutclaw's keeping the kids busy playing Hunt the Tick. Her eyes turned to the nursery. How is she? Ottersplash just shook her head. I'm going inside. Birdsong heaved her wide white belly through the nursery entrance and disappeared. Oakheart patted, yawning from his nest. Is it over yet? He caught Ottersplash's gaze and stopped. Birdsong slid out again. Her amber eyes were round and misted with grief. 3 kits. Her mew was husky. All dead. Mudfur was at her side in an instant. And Bright Sky? Birdsong stared at him blankly. You'd better go in. Mudfur lowered his head and turned toward the nursery. He stepped slowly inside, as if he had suddenly grown very old. A moment later, a low moan drifted through the reed wall. Crooked stared at Birdsong. Is she dead? Birdsong nodded. Crooked stood at the ground, not knowing what to say or do, and a thin mule drifted across the clearing. Crooked looked up. A kid! Brambleberry poked her head out. There was a 4th, she mewed quickly. She's weak, but she's breathing. She ducked back inside. Hellstar pushed his way out of his den and stood beside Echo Mist. He tipped his head. Thanks, StarClan, for this precious life. Get Shimmerpelt, Birdsong told Crooked. The kit will need warmth and milk. Crooked dashed up the slope and called into the Elder's Den. Shimmerpelt! She darted out at once. Come with me. Crooked escorted her down the slope. 1 kit survived. It'll need your milk. Shimmerpelt stopped. Survived? Hurry up. How's Bright Sky? Shimmerpelt's gaze pierced him. Crooked's paws froze. He stared at her. Is she dead? I'm sorry, he bursted out. I should have warned you. I... Shimmerpelt patted past him, silencing him with a flick of her tail. It's okay, she murmured. It's okay. Crooked watched her pad to the nursery and disappear inside. A moment later, Mudfur squeezed out. He staggered blindly across the clearing. Timberfur hurried to his side and propped him up as he guided his den mate to a shady space under the willow. The grief-stricken warrior collapsed, muzzle on paws, staring into the distance. Timberfur crouched beside him as though sitting vigil, and Ripple Claw crossed the clearing to join them. Crocodile's heart twisted in his chest. The kids were streaming out of the elder's den, squealing as they chased one another down the slope. The breeze swished as Graypaw and Willowpaw charged into camp. "We passed!" Willowpaw's eyes shone. "We passed our assessment!" Graypaw paced around her sister, tail high. Willowpaw caught a blackbird, and Graypaw caught the biggest trout Alfred's ever seen. Willowpaw charged across the clearing to Crooked. "Thank you, thank you." She licked his cheek. "I did everything you told me. You should have seen me." She paused and tilted her head to one side. "What's wrong?" She stepped away from Crooked. "What happened?" Rainflower looked up from the bottom of the slope. "Bright Sky died," she meowed, "and 3 of her newborn kits." Crooked was surprised by the grief in his mother's gaze. He pressed his muzzle against Willowpaw's cheek. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "Let all cats old enough to swim gather to hear my words," Hellstar called from outside his den. Brambleberry stood beside the RiverClan leader, back straight, fur smoothed. Willowpaw's eyes glistened. "You'll be getting your warrior name," Crooked murmured. Willowpaw sighed. "I never imagined it would be like this." She padded into the clearing as the clan gathered. Mudfur seemed unaware of what was happening and stayed beneath the willow. Timberfur and Rippleclaw didn't move from his side. The kids hung back beside the reed bed, quiet now. Even they realized something terrible had happened. "Bright Sky is dead," Hellstar announced, "and 3 of her kits." He waited for murmurs of grief to pass through the clan before he went on. "But one kit has survived." He glanced at Mudfur. "She has not been named yet, but she will always be treasured by the clan, a reminder of a warrior worthy of StarClan. We will make sure Bright Sky's kit grows up to honor and love her mother's memory." He lifted his muzzle, his eyes fixing on Followtail. RiverClan never forgets the sacrifice of its queens. Followtail once sacrificed her kits so that the clan could live in peace. We are lucky to have them back, and I consider it a blessing from StarClan that they have grown into such fine warriors. He dipped his head. "Willowpaw, Graypaw, come forward." As the apprentices padded into the clearing, Hellstar went on. "Willowpaw, you have the swiftness of a WindClan cat, but the heart of a RiverClan warrior. In honor of your speed, courage, and cleverness, I will give you the name Willowbreeze." Crookedjaw lifted his voice, solemnly chanting the new warrior name with his clanmates. Clouds had covered the sun and were quickly darkening as Hellstar went on. "Graypaw, you have your mother's determination, bravery, and warmth. From this moment, you shall be known as Graypool." "Graypool, Graypool, Graypool." As Crookedjaw lifted his muzzle to join in, a raindrop splashed on his nose. In a few moments, the storm broke and rain pounded the camp, as though StarClan itself was mourning for Bright Sky and her lost kits.